Skip it up and that up. So microtransactions seem to be creeping their way into AAA games more and more all the time. Some that come off the top of my head that had them, Gran Turismo 6 back in the day, a couple years ago. That had microtransactions that made a lot of people flip out. Forza 5 had microtransactions. Halo 5 is going to have microtransactions. Battlefield 4 had microtransactions. And the list goes on and on. A lot of developers come out and get very defensive when people get pissed off at them, saying, oh, it's not going to affect the balance of the game. You could totally ignore the microtransactions. And my concern is with microtransactions is that it just shows that the industry is very unhealthy if it needs to rely on microtransactions to make a game profitable. Even if the game is going to be profitable anyway, and they're just doing this due to greed, it still concerns me that it's being done at all, and it shows that there's something fundamentally wrong with the industry. So you would think developers would shy away from microtransactions with all the negative feedback they get, right? Wrong, they're doubling down on them. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is also going to have microtransactions. It was just announced. Ubisoft said that the microtransactions are going to be implemented so players can, and I quote, save time and accelerate progress. The director of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Francois Pelland, also said this as well. Rest assured, all of Syndicate's content is available without paying anything additional, and the game has been balanced such that microtransactions are 100% optional. Now I'm going to look at microtransactions from two perspectives, how it affects gamers and how it affects the gaming industry. Now, I remember a while back with Battlefield 4 when they had their microtransactions, and I keep using him as an example. Dude, I'm not being a creeper, I swear. Solid Rev made a video of him buying them and saying, hey, look, his point was, I should say, is, look, I don't have the time to sit there and level up like these dudes. And when I go play the game, I don't have a chance in hell because I don't have the hours to put in like they do. So I like the fact they give you the option that you could level up your character and buy weapons and perks and all that you would have to put hours upon hours of time in. And I see what he was saying. I agree with him because I don't have that damn time to put in either. But on the flip side of that, though, say Rev, exposing lames, one of these dudes have way too much money on their hands and way too much time, and they buy a whole bunch of gun packs and perks and whatever, and you're not willing to put that money in, then they have an advantage simply because they were able to fork out more cash in the multiplayer. So it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I get what you're saying, Rev. It allows you to level up your character quicker, and if you don't have the hours to put in, you could just pay to make your character more powerful in Battlefield 4. But on the flip side, it could still be used to make the game in balance, because if you don't want to put in hundreds of dollars to level up your character, some other dude wants to, you're still SOL, which means shit out of luck. So I don't really go for it helps you if you don't have the time to put into the game. Because if you don't have the money that you want to put into the game, which most people don't, you think you could just spend $60 and be done with it, you still are left at a disadvantage. So the pay to win thing just doesn't work with me at all. Now, I know microtransactions were also in Assassin's Creed Unity, and I'm sure a lot of people are conditioned to them now and don't really care. But what my concern is too with microtransactions on the business side of things is, are they necessary to make a game profitable now? This is what it's come to, where $60 isn't enough. People have to fork out more money to make a game actually profitable. You either have to buy these microtransactions. You don't have to, I know. You could either have these optional quote unquote microtransactions, or you have to buy season passes for a game to be profitable. So games pretty much now are going to be like around over $100 US dollars. And they have to be that price in the end for the game to actually make enough money for the company. That's just wrong, man. I almost rather see, if that's truly the case, I need to see a shit ton of numbers before I just succumb to it and say, okay, I'd rather the game just be like $80, $90. And I know people are like, oh my God, Rich, that's $30 more than what we're paying now. But in the end, with all the other shit they want for, especially with multiplayer games, online multiplayer, damn well you have to, they say, oh, you don't have to buy anything extra, but in the end, you have to buy some of the map packs, or you have to buy some of the other shit, because if you have friends that play and they buy them, you can't play certain maps of them, and the game becomes useless. So I rather see the games become slightly more expensive. All right? Well, $30 isn't slightly more, but I rather see the games become more expensive. I know this is not going to be popular, what I'm saying, than them milking us to death. That's what I rather. If it truly is about the fact that, hey, Rich, if Ubisoft came to me and said, Rich, if we just make people spend $60 with no microtransactions and no DLC, we cannot make a profit. We will lose money on the game. And they show me numbers as facts to say that they will, and they're not just doing this out of greed, which I'm sure some companies are, then just make the game $20 or $30 more expensive so I could just be done with it and I don't have to worry about, I got to buy a little bit of this, little bit of that, little bit of this, little bit of that. It's not that I want to see the games get more expensive before people flip out. I don't. But if it's a choice between being constantly nickeled and dimed or just spending some extra money per game, I'd rather just spend more money per game and be done with it. And I think a lot of people will agree with me. Or not. I have a feeling it's going to be the latter. So the bottom line is this, and I think many of you will agree with what I'm about to say, is that microtransactions are absolute shit. They are not healthy to gaming or the gaming industry, and the game developers and publishers need to find a better, more creative way to make money, because microtransactions, as we see how unpopular they are, aren't going to cut it. I don't know what the solution is, but nickel and diming people to death sure as shit is not the answer. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.